Well, good evening. Friday, February 17th? I don't know. Whatever. It's Friday. Botzing around out with the Go-Kart. I got the new engine plate and framing cut, squared in, tacked in, new bracing. And I moved the shock location, completely removed that cradle piece, because it's just kind of dumb. It doesn't need to be there. This is simpler. I moved the shock position out towards the most furthest point of the lever, fulcrum lever, so we'll have a little bit more load capacity. Not that we need load capacity, but this thing definitely does see jumps. So got these guys just tacked on, then I'm going to heat them up, hammer that down on both sides, and strap a weld all the way around it, and then I'll be able to burn in all my framing. I got to go through. I got good hour or two's worth of welding, getting all this rock solid, but it's all tacked in real good, so it shouldn't be shimmying around. And then should be able to stick an engine on there, marker out my holes, we'll pull the chain up. I got to get the centrifugal clutch off of the engine on the other go-kart, and that's going on that engine. I was hemming and hawing about using a CBT, constantly varying transmission, or variable, whatever, on this, and I'm not gonna do that. This one's going to the girls, so I'm just gonna throw a centrifugal on it. It doesn't need to go 40-50 miles an hour. If it goes a happy 20, a nice safe 20, that'll be plenty good. It'll have a little bit of snort. Maybe they'll be able to spin the tires in the mud a little bit. I have no idea how that could have happened. I can't think of a possible reason that could have possibly. Huh. Oh. Well, maybe. Anyways, yeah. So, we're pretty close to being able to throw a motor on here, and realistically, if I didn't have to go out for fish and drinks with the better half and friends this evening, I'd be driving a go-kart in about 2.5 hours. Yeah. So, alrighty, we're getting somewhere. So, burned all these in. This is all new. That plate is new. Got all that actually burned in pretty good. And put a heavy tack on both of these, and if you saw them before, they were flat. These are just caster wheels that you would like put on a toolbox. But I burned them in on both sides and underneath on one side, and then just hammered the little, you know, bejeepers out of her. So now I'm gonna burn that in, and like, this is close. I'm close to being able to play with the motor here, and that's, boy, is that exciting. From the direction of the motor, I'll be able to have a pull start going out that way. Shouldn't be a big deal getting to that, or to choke, or, you know, really anything. I am gonna have to figure out a good spot to have the air intake. I'm gonna have to do something with that wide open carb, and of course a wide open exhaust. I don't know. I'll do something cool, just a single pipe going back or something like that. But I'm gonna have to get that air intake up, because, man, like, this thing has been cleaned before I pulled it into the go-kart, or into the shop. She throws the mud bad, so I got to do something about keeping clean air, you know, getting to her, and we'll make her happen. Staying warm enough. Got this right up my back. I've had the door open for a bit. I've been welding for about an hour straight, and the fumes were probably not great for me. So, but I think we'll be able to take this thing for a test rip pretty quick here. I got a little bit more burning to do. I gotta finish up these. I mean, that's a hideous looking weld. There's a couple decent ones though. Yeah, there we go. There's an Instagram weld. That's gorgeous. For a frickin' $120 Harbor Freight MIG, a little titanium does a good job, and we're running this off of sun power, so. And God, the sun's out. That's all I got to say. We'll check back in a little bit when we, man, hopefully have a motor. Like I'm gonna have a nearly impossible time not spraying some starter fluid in that tire, pumping this thing up, and going for a rip. Even if I gotta go for a rip on a flat tire, I do have to replace these tires, but I mean, somebody's got to durability test it. May as well be me. So we'll check back. Well, I hit a wall here. I was on a roll. Got the clutch off of the other engine. I think that's in good enough shape. Good enough shape to work. I got it on the shaft of well, the new engine. Just gonna use that guy. I had pretty low hopes. The more I sat and thought about it. Kill switch doesn't work. And it's two of the not same engines. I might be able to use it yet. I will bolt this down to the bench, hook a tank up to it, and test fire it, and see what it can do. But the front plate where the cam set into wasn't exactly the same as the front plate from the generator engine. It's a little bit smaller, so you know what, it'll probably run, but it's not gonna, it might run good, but I don't see that lasting a long time because it's not fit in there correctly. Maybe I could make a sleeve for it, so it rides in there. There's actually a pretty good chance I've got a brass bushing somewhere that I can, do exactly that. Slide a sleeve in, and just the more I thought about it, that wasn't the right idea for this. I want this, this cart I'm building for my girls. I have 3 daughters, and I want them to have something that they can reliably enjoy. So, one bought a new engine, brand new, out of the box, frickin' brand spanking new engine. Probably should have just gotten another 212 because I've got a ton of 212 parts laying around, but I'm an idiot. And I got the 224 because it said that. I don't know. She's more like an 8 horse, and she's got, 10 or 12 foot-pounds of torque. And on this gear ratio, she ought to have some nuts. And it shouldn't be ridiculous on the top end, and I can always limit that. I had space issues getting it in with the tank. I wanted to do a test fire. I wanted to get it kind of, into place. Decide how long my chain needed. I got to drill my holes, bolt the engine down, and this is what I've been waiting on, is having a clutch on an engine, so I can pull the chain, decide where that needs to be, kind of eyeball it. Looks like, the engine can go to the right a little bit more. Oh, man. So, problem is, this one is a little bit bigger. And even though I took the tank off, you can see them ears right here and there. They're almost stabbing straight into the back of the seat of the passenger. And then you look over just a little bit more, and there's like almost zero room in between. That black thing there, that's the kill switch. That's the on-off switch. And this is the cage for the cab, and she swings right there. And that, in this particular position, she's got 1/4 inch. You know, and I know 1/4 inch right there means more like 2 inches in the back end, and with the springs all the way tight, I don't want to gamble. I don't want them to get the throttle stuck or not be able to turn it off. I want them to be able to operate this thing without having to run inside and, Dad, the go-kart's doing this, or, you know. I just want it to work, and they should be able to work it. The direction of the pull start is going straight into the back of the cab. I'm going to have to turn that whole assembly a third turn counterclockwise, and then it'll pull off this way. That shouldn't be a big problem. There'll be no problem with accessing choke and fuel controls, and we should have plenty of clearance to the tire. It's flat right now, so it's closer than it actually will be. You know, you can just see the difference, how close it is to that piece of the frame and how close it is to that piece of the frame. This one's inflated, that one is not. That one is dry rotted and cracked to high hell. I'm gonna have to put some slime in it and reseat the bead with ether. Now, because I had to remove that tank and I got to cut those ears off, I wish I would have welded the engine plate a little bit further back, like an inch further back. You know, the whole thing just moved back a little bit, would have made a world of a difference. Perhaps, I believe the stainless I have is the same width there. That's maybe 10.5. That's 10 inches. Stainless I got is 12. I don't know. I'll double check it, but it's close, and it won't be much to take all this back out, put another plate on top of that, burn that in, and I just got to move this engine back a little bit further. I've got a little bit of play in the engine shroud and the tire, but again, tire's not all inflated. Yes, it's going to get bigger this way, but it's going to move over that way when it's inflated. So I'm going to be cutting her close. There might be a little bumping and grinding here, but the important thing is that mechanically the engine, clutch, drivetrain system works reliably. The shocks are probably way too tight. I got them cranked all the way to the max. I can probably crank them damn near down to nothing, because it's not going to be adults riding in it. It's going to be my teenage girls, and they're a bunch of featherweights. So, either way, the clutch fits on the engine. I'm not 100% sure that I have the right chain. So the number 50 chain fits on this sprocket really nice. It's not beautiful on that. I think this one's like a 45 or a 40, which is just going to be the most absolute biggest damn bummer in the world. I'm going to have to pound that clutch back off, but I'm still gonna try it. Let's at least see how bad it grinds. As long as if I have to go down to or up to a number 50, because this is definitely number 50 here. This all fits perfect. This is absolutely perfect the way it fits in this sprocket. So I have to stay with the sprocket that's on there because I'm not taking this axle off and putting a different sprocket on. So that's easier. I can deal with the clutch. Shit, I could even get the housing off of there and just throw the housing for, you know, a number 50 chain sprocket on there. It's a 10 tooth. Yeah, we just got a couple things that need to be figured out, and I got to make some decisions. I think for now, it all comes back out. I cut a piece of plate to stick on top right here that will come back a little farther, and I can pull the engine a little bit farther away from the cab. I don't want it too close to that tire, though, you know, and that's the big issue. That's the problem with going with these, you know, doing engine swaps, you know, those stupid GY6 engines spun counterclockwise and the head leaned that way. If I could turn this around, I'd have tons of room. I'd have all this room for activities, and I would have no problem at all backing this engine up, you know, right about to here, and having this sprocket right here with a shorter chain. That's going to give me less chain stretch. The longer the chain is, the more stretch I'm going to have. The more I use it, you know, and obviously my girls aren't going to beat the guts out of it like I did. Like, I annihilated this chain. Like, every single time I drove that thing after about the 10th lap, just around my 6-acre property without letting off the throttle, she started to stretch, and she was jumping, and it was coming off of the sprocket, and I had to stop and reseat her. And, you know, it was easy enough to do, but if I'd happened to be in the middle of a mud hole, it wasn't really convenient, wasn't really, like, cool. I could solve the issue real fast and get back on the road, but then, yeah, I was stuck in a mud hole, and I'm playing around with the, you know, chain in a mud hole and trying to push this thing and reseat it. The longer this chain gets, I'm gonna have to figure out some sort of solution for like a self-tensioning. On the high side, where all the pressure is going to be, I shouldn't have to worry about it. On the low side, when it gets hot and it starts to sag, I might have to make something similar to, you know, some of the ATVs out there that got, it's almost like that cutting board material, you know, with a spring that just keeps the sag out of it, so it's not binding up teeth as they roll back around. So, yeah, I don't know. I got this is where I'm at, and it's close. I still got fuel issues. I gotta replace the petcock with. I'm probably just gonna take the bung out of the Predator tank and just run her straight, and she's not gonna have an on-off switch. Oh, actually, she's got an on-off switch on the carb, so yeah, I can delete that. Yep. Alright, so that's a solution. Hopefully the threading is the same or close. If it's not, I'll just go 10 times heavy on the Teflon tape and just run her home. And but then this engine has this goofy vacuum thing that went to and from the tank. It's got a dealie. It comes out from behind the carb, and this goes up to the tank. You know, and it goes down to this stupid thing, and it's got like a thing with a nipple there that looks like it's supposed to have something going somewhere. I don't know if that's just a breather or if I can just delete that whole thing. You know, that's probably what I'll do, is just delete the whole thing from here all the way through. And there's a spark plug wire. But this whole system, I'm pretty sure can just go away. I've never seen that on a small engine, and I looked at everything else that was on Harbor Freight shelves, and this was the only one I found that on. I know this block is similar. They use the same block as basically the race engine. They've got the, what is it, well yeah, it's like the competition Go-Kart race engine that they sell for $300, but it's got the Mikuni carb and, you know, upgraded manifold and, you know, a couple things. It's got considerably more horsepower, just ungoverned version. So maybe someday I'll grab the accessory kit for that. And I do happen to have a Mikuni carb up there that might find its way on to this engine. Obviously I'm gonna have to modify the manifold so it isn't getting jammed into the tire, but yeah, I got some problems to work out. I think I gotta do some cutting and some welding, modifying my plate. This is already burned in too tight. I'm not cutting that back up and moving it back. It's just not happening. So maybe I can add a plate on top that comes back a little further, slide the engine back just a little bit, man. And then I can finally drill some holes to bolt the motor down after I eyeball her square with the chain hanging on the clutch there. You know, and when I say eyeball, I actually literally mean eyeball. So, yeah, she's close, but she's got to come back like half an inch that way. I'll be square enough. Square enough. If it bumps and rubs a little bit, it'll just wear itself in, right? You know, it's a go-kart. It's not a fucking Tesla. So, yeah, I got some playing around to do, and we'll check back in another couple of steps. Hopefully, I've got something I can test fire. Gotta find some fuel on. I know I got some somewhere in the pile. Delete that vacuum line shit. I don't think that's necessary. I'll just put a cap on it and take the rest of it off. I can probably use that as fuel line. Hell yeah, I sure can. Yeah. Yeah, it just told me right now that it identifies as fuel line, so I can totally use that as fuel line. Oh, yeah. Alright. So, we're going to stick with the factory tank that I think leaks a little bit. But as long as I don't fill it past the weld. Maybe I'll find no leak. And I probably can't weld it, but I can probably stick some gunk in there. That'll make it not, I don't know. We're on to something. We're getting there. Stay tuned. Okay then. So, I've been kind of fiddling around with this all morning. And I had to pause a VGG video to I don't know. I finally got somewhere. I think I'm onto something. Potentially, I might be able to throw the jack stands under this thing, and you know, I still got work to do. I gotta break my chain, get the master link in. I'm gonna roll it over a bunch of times, but I've been really struggling with the engine plate. So I initially welded this piece down, and with the engine set in there, the kill switch was just way too close to the roll cage. Now I got, well, it doesn't look like a lot, but inch clearance. There's not really a lot of travel with this anyways. These springs are really stiff, and my grills are both I don't know, 100 pounds soaking wet. So even if both of them are in here, or even if some adults take it for a spin, I don't know. I guess we'll see. If we end up smashing out the kill switch, I can always reroute that forward and put that on an intermittent. And then, you know, whatever. So we'll cross that road when we get to it. But I ended up welding this piece of stainless on there, not realizing how difficult it is to drill through stainless if you don't use oil and you just throw a bit on your drill and try to power through it. Once you know, that work hardens it. That hole right there, I destroyed almost every single drill bit I own trying to drill that hole, and it's still, it looks like it's big enough to throw a bolt through. It's not. That's just the outside. So I gave up that venture. Then I was going to just set the bolts in the engine where they're going to go, and then weld the bolts down. But I remembered that the 79cc engine that I bought from Harbor Freight as well came with this engine plate, you know, and it's obviously like an adapter from a, you know, normal bolt pattern to a smaller engine, but it's a halfway stout plate, and all the holes lined up to get to this engine. So I got all the bolts in, I got rubber isolators in there, so it won't be ridiculous vibration going through the frame. I had to use C-clamps to compress everything together while I threaded the bolts on, got lock washers on all of them. I'm just going to weld that plate in, bond the two plates together. It's going to be some tedious work getting the wand to the welder, because there's not a ton of room. So I'm going to pull this chain out of here, move some shit out from over there. I got it tacked right now. It's on there. But that's an excellent solution. And if I ever need to pull the engine up, I can, it'll be some really tedious wrenching, but I will be able to get the bolts unturned and lift it up off of there, if there's any reason it's got to come off. So excited to get that burned in, and then it's time to play with the chain. And I've got some pieces, if I need to figure out something for a tensioner. I've got an idler pulley from I don't know, a lawnmower or something like that, and the chain might beat up on that a little bit, but I could have that floating on a lever with a spring, pulling it this way or something like that, just to make sure I don't minimize the sag in the chain on the bottom end. It's always going to be tight on the top end because it's pulling that way. I just don't want to, I want to get all my ducks crossed ahead of time. I've got the whole winter to play with this thing, so I want to get her done nice. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Get this all burned in, and then we'll check back when it's time to play with the chain. Maybe I'll set up the tripod and we can time lapse some of it. So, alright, stay tuned. Alrighty, real quick update. Plate worked fine. Engine's on there. She's on real good. I didn't burn the rubber too bad out of the isolators. I kept cooling it down with my beverage. Chain is on and pulled to length. I probably am gonna need some, like I said, I'm gonna need some kind of a tensioner from underneath, and if I just do a sprung, then it's kind of a little bit more automatic, as long as it keeps the sag out of the bottom side of the chain. She should stayed hooked up on the clutch just fine. Everything worked out. Chain breaker worked just fine, and she's back together. Got the master link in, she's in, and rolls. Brakes are a little stiff, but don't worry about the brakes later. I know the brakes on the front work, so maybe I'll just delete that. I don't know. Anyways, throttle cable is hooked up, vacuum line is hooked up. All I gotta do now is find a coupler so I can get from my tank down to the hose coming up underneath the carb. And I'd like to find a filter. I might have to run to the hardware store, but I'm pretty sure I've got one lying around. If not, I'm just gonna take a piece of copper line. I've got some 1/4 inch and maybe even some 1/8 inch laying somewhere that I can just use for a coupler, clamp it down. I can always do a test fire. I want to make sure this chain system is going to work. just get the wheels rolling. It'd be good to see the wheels rolling. Run the gas off the gas pedal. Make sure throttle wise, I got everything set right. With that, I might need a little bit more spring tension for pedal retraction, but I'm a fuel line and a tank of gas away from test firing this thing. I already got oil in it. Went back over everything else, like get that fuel line hooked up and put some gas in, and I can see if the wheels roll. Well, it's either gonna work or it's not. So, all right, we'll check back in a little bit. All right, vacuum line is hooked up, fuel line is hooked up. I didn't end up making or finding a barb, but I did just rob the cutoff switch. There's an inline cutoff switch, fuel cutoff on the lawn tractor. So I robbed that and put a little gas in the tank. In theory, be able to start her. Of course, I can't see. Pretty sure down is run. I'm gonna look at my other engine just to confirm, because I don't want to waste a bunch of poles. Yeah, should be anyways. So fuel's been in the bowl for a couple minutes now. I'm sure I'm gonna have to give her a few soft pulls. Oh, that's definitely gonna fly off the shelf. Alright. Give her a little throttle. Fuel is on. Choke is on. Spark plug is plugged in. Shit falling all over the place. I gotta change the orientation of that pole start. Make it come out the other direction. Forgot to do that. So she should be starting, honestly. Corner throttle. We'll take it off a choke. Keep on hitting everything. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh. Pretty noisy. Was an old clutch. Wasn't 100% sure what would happen here. Alright. So I simulate a tank tensioner. train customer. Well, the back brakes don't work.
No.
The clutch definitely works, but it wants to go. It probably just needs some flexion. Ain't been used in a long time, but it definitely got nice and warm there.
Yeah.
So it works. I need a tensioner.
You need tension.
Well, there it is. Tensioner in there, lever, two bearings, bolts, it's an idler pulley. It's got a roller bearing inside of it. The clutch is definitely not been used in a long time. It's getting really hot just sitting here not running. So I'm kind of letting her move a little bit. Get the bearings moving. Hopefully she doesn't shake off the jack because it's going through the frickin' door if it does. It's running pretty darn smooth. It's running up. Nothing's rubbing on the engine plate. Stream. Oh, she's rolling pretty damn good. It's honestly better than I expected. I thought I was going to have to screw around with this for a long time. I could technically take this for a test rip if I didn't have 3 feet of snow. Oh, come on, stop. If I didn't have 3 feet of snow outside of the door. Yeah, she wants to go. Hell yeah. Call that a win. I'll end the video off there when I got the front of the shed cleared off and it's finally ready to take for a test trip. I still got to do lights and a bunch of other boring stuff, but the important stuff is working, you know? Well, thanks for watching. God bless you.